The inside of Coates.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Good evening and welcome to round 2 of the VRRC Fabarth Cup. This is part of the League of Champions here at VRRC. This evening we are at Vallelunga circuit in Italy and I am joined by Dave Marshall. Good evening, Dave.
How are we doing, Steve? Pleased you said Vallelunga before I did for pronunciation there.
Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, interesting circuit for us this evening. Track length of 2.5 miles, 4 kilometres. Some very, very quick turns in store for the drivers with a couple of tight, twisty bits just for fun. And from what I'm hearing, just to compromise the setup, Dave, I think a tricky one for the guys to get their heads around this evening.
Yeah, it's a very, very tricky circuit. As you can probably see on your screen right now, you know, it's a track that compromises very much of a track that resembles Monza with a bit of sort of a Monte Carlo Grand Prix sort of esque middle stadium section. So the car has to be very, very good down the straights. You know, we're hitting top end of 6th gear, but then, you know, you get into that little stadium section and there's, you know, 2 sort of hairpins, very, very low gear, you know. You've got to have a car that compromises sort of each sector, otherwise, you know, you might end up being a sitting duck essentially.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we saw last week, obviously last week was the first round of this championship and the guys have not only got to get their head around the setups, but they've got to get their head around the different tyre compounds, which at Zandvoort last weekend just threw up a few issues for the guys because they all, well, most of them, as far as I know, ran on the mediums, and before the end of the race, they were literally dropping the tyres off a cliff, as it were, and so to speak, and then the lap times were dropping significantly, and we saw some guys really, really struggling towards the end of the race, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, you know, the majority of people were running mediums. In fact, I think probably everyone was running mediums for the race. You know, I think we saw a lot of drivers maybe pushing a little bit too hard out the blocks, you know, battling very hard for position. Bear in mind, you know, it's a 20-minute race, a lot can happen. And yeah, just a case of drivers pushing it too hard, and the drivers that weren't pushing that hard and using the slipstream and the effect to save the tyres came back at the end of the race, seen by Jack, who had a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jack McIntyre came out on top really with 35 points gained from last week's round at Zandvoort. Isaac Smith sat in second place currently with Jordan Brennan in third, Max Edmondson fourth. We've got Charlie Oliver in fifth, Martin Johnson in sixth, Robbie Stapleford seventh, Mike Epps in eighth, who unfortunately ended up getting disqualified from race 1, but we'll go into that a bit more in a second. Andy Dorman 9th and Andy Cowell rounding out the top 10. So yeah, just that Mike Epps, I mean, he showed absolutely fantastic pace last week. In the first race, unfortunately, he got a penalty, or he was awarded a penalty for a jump start, but unfortunately didn't see the message. When he didn't take the drive-through penalty, he got disqualified, didn't he? And there's a bit of a misunderstanding, a technical issue for him, but that put him out of the first race. Then the second race, he started at the back of the grid and had enough pace to get right through almost to the front, but then the tyres just dropped off and there wasn't much he could do, was there?
Yeah, so you can see Mike's got such natural ability. You know, he gets in a car, does about 10 practice laps and straight away puts it at front running pace, but unfortunately it was just a little tech issue, very easy to miss, just a little tick box. Didn't have the tick box enabled and got a disqualification from first race, but it just shows there's no room for human error here. It's, you know, it comes down to the PC. You know, you tick the right boxes and you can stay in the race. But unfortunately, I've talked to him tonight, and he is having tech issues again. This time, not for ticky boxes or whatever, but he's just struggling with frame rate drop. So we think he's probably got tech issues where there's something not quite right on his PC, whether it's hard drive related or something like that. But yeah, he's getting frame rate drop, and it might impair his racing a little bit here. So we'll see how he goes. But all being well, he'll jump in the server, go fast. We'll see him at the top.
Yeah, we're just qualifying has started. There is now 12 minutes and 40 seconds to go. We're just watching Jack McIntyre go. Now, Jack, in qualifying last week, didn't set the best times. You know, he wasn't the quickest in practice, but when it came to the race, he really showed some great racecraft. He showed what it's all about and what a talent he is. You know, whatever format or discipline it is, whether it's open wheelers, GT cars, and he's, you know, as we say, he's sat at the top of the table now. So he pulled some good results out, and we didn't really expect him to. I won't say do that well. We always expect him in the sort of top 6, but no, he really had a good performance last week, didn't he?
Yeah, he's always going to be running in the front. You know, he's got incredible racecraft. He's shown that even if he doesn't have the pace, he can still pull results out of the bag. So Jack's definitely not the one to not look for essentially this race. There's a few standouts from tonight. You know, we know who's been doing a lot of practice, to the likes of, you know, Jordan Brennan. I know Isaac's been doing a lot of practice. He seems to be really gelling with his car. You know, it's a bit like his background. You know, he's come up through karts. For all he's racing, you know, tin top at the moment in mini challenge. You know, his background is go-karts, and he's phenomenally fast in them. So as we see Robbie Stapleford go first provisionally, yet another go-kart. So we're seeing, you know, the 911s. You know, it was that whole ethos around a driver who's got good car control through the hands. But we're seeing, you know, the likes of the go-karts really starting to come up through the field in this discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly say hello to Adam Azalovic on the chat. Welcome to the stream, Adam. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, just quickly to explain to anyone who is watching for the first time, this is the League of Champions. So we had the Porsche challenge for 4 rounds. Now we move into the Fabarth Cup. Just can you explain very quickly while we're in qualifying, Dave, how the points work? Because obviously we're running this as a separate league, but it's part of the big championship. Is that fair enough to say?
Yes, sort of the wrong way around there. This is the championship part of the bigger league. Yeah, so it's very much a case of it runs a lot like Race of Champions. So anyone not familiar with that, it's sort of multiple disciplines, builds up and ends up with an overall crown champion. So there's points that goes into a championship league table. So there's 4 championships, but then where your finishing position of that championship then determines how many points you get for the league. So as you can see there on screen, we started already with a Porsche. The Porsche is finished. We've got a championship winner for that. They get trophies and caps for first, second and third place. We're now into the second round of Fabarth at Vallelunga, and then from here we're going to Classic DTM and TT Cup. But as you can see, DTM is the first championship where there's multiple cars to choose from. You know, you've got the choice of the Alfa, the Mercedes and the BMW. So, you know, each championship has really proven that there has to be a whole different sort of way around of testing, if you like. So the DTM is going to be quite interesting regarding testing which car a certain driver gets on with best, and, you know, it could provide some really interesting racing.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's good to see it sort of coming alive here, you know, within the VRRC community, as we just saw Max Bird there tangling with the wall in qualifying, but Jordan Brennan is currently on pole position with a 1:32.2. Robbie Stapleford 0.06 of a second behind, so he's chasing hard. Isaac Smith is only a 10th down. Jack McIntyre in 4th place, just about half a second off, with Max Bird about the same, just over half a second off, and Eve Johnson as well in 6th place. The times are very close, Dave. Is this what we were expecting in qualifying? Is this how the practice has been shaping up this week?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw there, that was the stadium section there that I was referring to, that Jordan was in. You can see Isaac here coming across the start-finish line straight. So this is the section of track that more replicates something like Monza. You know, really long straight, lots of opportunity for slipstream. So we'll maybe saw Max Bird there, got a car slightly better set up for these straight lines, but then just struggling in that stadium section. But yeah, Jordan Brennan, stunning time there. But yeah, we're expecting to see things close. You know, this is the first round of the championship where the ballast is applied, so it goes off the first championship standards. It's only 1 kilogram per car difference, all the way down to 12th place. So first place from the last round, which was Jack in the championship, has 12 kilograms of weight on. And in 12th place was Mick Sutton, so he's got a kilogram on. So it's really easy to work out who's got what weight. So yeah, we're going to see that just sort of stabilise that grid and bring their lap times really close.
And just well, for me, to be fair, because how much difference will that ballast make on this type of car? Because obviously with the Porsches, yes, we had ballast. They'd probably handle the ballast, would you say, better than these cars? Will it affect these cars more, the ballast? Or not?
It's an awkward one to say. I mean, I'm the one who does the testing and puts the ballast in the car. So if it's wrong, it's my fault, essentially. But when I test it, the 12 kilograms is normally worth somewhat of 3/10. It was the same for the Porsche. I don't really want to apply maximum ballast where it rules a person out and puts them sort of near the bottom of the pack. I just want it to sort of bring them down closer to the midfield. So maximum ballast I tend to place somewhere in the 3/10 margin per track. So 12 kilograms just, was about right in this car for about 3/10. So you'd work it out that, sort of 6 kilograms is going to be worth just over a tenth difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking now at Rob Butler just going around. Rob's another sort of front runner on a given day. He's had some good results as he actually dives into the pits now. But in some of the other championships and the other races that we've run at VRRC, Rob certainly can be a contender for race wins and certainly for podiums. But I think tonight on this track as well, with the long straights and then the sort of first turn, which it is a turn, but it's still flat in these cars. There's going to be some awesome slipstreaming, I think, tonight, and some possible opportunities where potentially you could get overtaken at the first part of the straight and then come back at the challenger on the next, almost straight away.
Yeah, so round one in the Fabarth, we were at a track that starts off very, very narrow. It's very clustered. This is going to be a round where we're going to see the front runners get away, but they're not going to pull away. Even if one of them gets a jump off the line, you're going to see the slipstream pull them right back in going into turn 2, because turn 1 is absolutely flat. So let's hope we don't see too much carnage, but it should lead to some very, very interesting racing. As we see Robbie Stapleford there on pole, where we probably expect him, to be fair. Jordan Brennan only a tenth back, Isaac only 2 tenths back. This is going to be some seriously close racing.
Yeah, I mean, we can go all the way down to it's 11th place, Mick Sutton, who is 1 second off pole position. So we've talked about Mick Sutton quite a lot in the last few rounds. Mick's one of the ever improving drivers that's relatively new. I say relatively new. He's been racing with VRRC now for a few months, and he's getting quicker and more consistent. And it's just a second at the moment off pole, which I'm sure Mick wouldn't mind me saying that a few races ago in some of the other cars that we've run, it would have been 2 or 3 seconds off the pace. So it just shows the improvement that can be made with racing with these faster drivers.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who sort of, looks at Mick being a second off the pace and go, well, he mustn't be that good of a driver. Trust me, you try and get in these cars and go a second off pole. It's not an easy benchmark to try and set. So Mick's doing incredibly well to be only a second off the pace. But actually, as I say that, Robbie Stapleford with the 31.7 nearly gapped the rest of the field by half a second there. I mean, that is a serious lap time to put in. That is a serious lap.
It is, isn't it? But I mean, we obviously are looking at qualifying, and Robbie Stapleford is there with that 1:31.7, which is a quick time because, as we said earlier, the setups on these cars round this track, it's going to be about compromise. But what they won't have to worry about in this section is the tyres, because obviously I would imagine they're probably running the mediums and they'll be pushing fairly hard to get that fastest lap. Sorry,
I was going to say that, Steve. Actually, I'm noticing that all the drivers are running on softs.
They're running softs.
They're running soft, so we must be finding that that round 1 was really hard on tyres. Long sweeping right-handers really running that back left off. But this track, for all it's incredibly fast, it's got big braking areas and not that many fast right speed corners. It's all sort of third gear instead of the top end of fifth. So yeah, we're probably seeing drivers that's, you know, pushing the luck with softs. You'd probably get 2 to 3 good laps in on the softs, but then, you know, they go off a cliff essentially. So I reckon we're going to see all the drivers basically run mediums in the race, but we might see a few chancing on the hards to hopefully come back strong at the end of the race.
Yeah, but what I was going to say though is that, you know, obviously that they're pushing as hard as they can at the moment, and we've seen from a couple of onboard shots how twitchy these cars are because the setup is a compromise. As we see Mick Sutton going at the moment, he's currently going a little bit quicker. He's improving ever so slightly, but during the race they're not going to be able to push that 10 tenths all the way, because obviously they are going to have to think about that tyre wear, because obviously, you know, towards the end of the race, as we saw last week, it's a bit of an unknown. I'm sure some of these guys have done race distance practicing, but to us it's an unknown that you know, that it might get 2 or 3 laps towards the end, or even sooner, and they could find their paces dropping by up to a second a lap.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in Robbie's position right now, I'll be thinking, you know, I've got nearly half a second in my back pocket here on pace. You know, I can afford to back this car off, take it steady round some of the tyres that corners that really wear the tyres down. You know, and just relax the car a bit. You know, don't push the car too hard. And I think the race will come to him. But you know, we might see Jordan that pushes aggressive off the line and really tries to push the pace of the race. And you know, it's going to force Robbie into putting his foot down and scrubbing them tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just seeing some of the cars running on the curbs, are there some curbs around this track that they do need to avoid that are just a little bit too aggressive and, you know, and upset the balance of the car, or they're pretty much free to to abuse the curbs, as it were?
So what we've found is we see Jordan Brent coming into turn 2 here. This double right-hander, you can't really see it, but there's like an undulation midway through after the first initial right, and it can sometimes unweight the back of the car. It's almost off camber, so that's one corner there that you have to be really careful of. Regarding curb strikes, as long as you're hitting pure tyre, the car tends to absorb it okay. It can spit you off somewhat. Where we really run into issues is any curbs where you catch the middle of that car, because you just bottom out and your tyres lose all traction.
Yeah,
so we'd see Jordan running wide on that tight left-hander. That curb is almost flat, but especially when we come into the stadium section, there's a tight left hairpin, and then there's a left and a right after that hairpin, and that's caught a good few people out that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're looking now, Robbie Stapleford, like you say, he's lucky. He's in the pits. He's parked up with 25 seconds to go, so he's happy with that. He's thinking he's pretty much got that covered off. Jordan Brennan is just under half a second down. Isaac Smith in third. Oliver sat in fourth. McIntyre is in fifth. He's just he improved to get up into fifth. He was in sixth. Edmondson's in sixth. As we see that, Edmondson goes up to fourth. Oliver's in fifth. McIntyre sixth. So it's just changing now in the closing stages. Rob Butler's in 7th, Max Bird 8th, Johnson 9th, Dorman 10th, Fairclough 11th. Mick Sutton, who we're watching go around at the moment, is down in 12th. Carroll 13th, Gallagher 14th, and Larmy 15th at the moment. So just watching the final few guys complete qualifying here as the clock has gone to 0. So they're on their closing. Mike Epps hasn't completed a lap, Dave, so I'm wondering if he's got that frame rate issue and he's maybe just going to start at the back of the grid and see how the race pans out for himself, maybe. Yeah,
so you can see he's actually in the server, he's out on track now, but as Mike said, he hasn't done a lap yet, you know. Yeah, you know, he's a smart driver. He's going to probably come through the grid. He knows he has pace. But yeah, it can be really distracting for a driver, you know, get them frame rate drops, you know, just disillusions where your car is and where other people's car is. So if he thinks it's going to compromise someone else's race, I'm sure he's willing to take the back seat and put it in the pits for the race.
Yeah, definitely, and like you say, it's about confidence as well when you're driving these cars, sort of flat out around the track, and if you start getting frame rate drops and things like that, and it's like you say, you don't want to take anybody out, so probably the safest thing will be to park up. But I'm sure Michael make that judgment. He may even have got the problem sorted out. But that concludes qualifying for round 2 at Vallelunga, and Robbie Stapleford indeed does take that pole position from Jordan Brennan in second. Then it's Isaac Smith and Max Edmondson, 3rd and 4th. Then we've got Charlie Oliver in 5th, Jack McIntyre in 6th, Rob Butler 7th, Max Bird 8th, Martin Johnson 9th, Andy Dorman rounds out the top 10 with Will Fairclough 11th, Mick Sutton in 12th, Andy Carroll 13th, Tony Gallagher 14th, Paul Lamy 15th, Mike Epps in 16th place after not completing a lap. But as we said, we do think he's got some technical issues, so we'll see how Mike gets on. But if he has no issues and he starts at the back of the grid, Dave, that is one of the cars to watch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the previous round of the championship. He started last on the grid, and did he finish in 2nd place? I think it was. So
it was, mate. Yeah,
he's definitely a driver who can come through the grid. And he knows how to race, that lad.
He does indeed, and I mean, I think he was looking good to challenge for the win. In fact, because he sort of more or less caught up to 1st place with a few laps to go, still a bit of time left on the clock. But his tyres dropped off that proverbial cliff, didn't they? So
I was actually talking to him after that race, and he said, he was closing Jordan in. He thought he could have him, closing in about 3/10 a lap. And then, 3 laps from the end or 2 laps from the end, just when he was getting within that second to try and get the slipstream, he said his tyres just dropped off a cliff altogether and just couldn't make any progress on Jordan then. So, yeah, it just shows, you push this car past sort of the limits. It's really quite realistic. The tyre literally just drops off and you have nothing left.
Yeah, so that'll be. I think more of the drivers. Maybe you may be able to tell me better, but I would imagine. I mean, I know if it was me racing there tonight after last week, I would have definitely done a few practice sessions where I've run full race distance on a set of tyres just to try and assess the wear. I mean, practice is always different to when you're battling hard with somebody. I know, but obviously, I'm sure they'll have given themselves some sort of idea and got some feedback from the tyres.
Yeah, I mean. The thing is, I've done a bit of testing myself. With being a 10-10s coach, I've got to do, I don't know how many 100 laps I've done around here already to get the setup dialed in. But yeah, the hards just don't seem to switch on at all. They're quite consistently, but they don't have the pace. If you're racing a car of mediums, you would just think the amount he would pull away by, you're just not going to catch him. So I don't think we'll really see anyone go on the hards. But yeah, we might see a good few people on the mediums.
Well, I see Robbie Stapleford, our pole sitter, has dropped into the interview box for a chat, Dave. So I wonder if you'd like to go ask him a couple of questions and see if you can find out what his plan is for the race.
Yeah, no bother. Right, then, do we have Robbie Stapleford there?
Evening, Dave.
Our pole sitter. I can't deny I'm reasonably happy about Robbie sitting pole, and a good coaching session yesterday, and you put it on pole. So yeah, I mean that must have been a fair hooked up lap to do a 0.7.
Yeah, just got some good space. Wasn't too close to the person in front, and pretty much just got every corner nailed. So
yeah, I was gonna ask about that actually. I mean, it looked quite busy out on track. Is it proven to be a track where you need to get into space to put a proper good lap time down?
Yeah, because unless you get space, you just catch them down the straight, and then you just lose time going into the corner because you have to brake earlier because you're going twice the speed. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering whether we're going to see any drivers sort of trying to help each other in quality regarding slipstream, because I'll probably say, is it worth maybe 3 to 4 tenths of slipstream round here?
I don't know, because I haven't really been much behind people and tested it, so I can't tell you.
Oh, well, you're going to learn in the race, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan's sitting in 2nd place and Isaac in 3rd, so you're going to have some fast runners behind you. What's your strategy for the race? Are you going to try and look after the tyres early on, or are you just going to gauge what Jordan does and try and push it that way?
Probably just get a good start, try and get away, break the toe, and then just cool down and maintain the gap to whoever's behind me. Oh
well, great pull, phenomenal lap time. You got a bit of time in the bag. So yeah, good luck with the start, and we'll hopefully speak to you after race 1.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. See you.
No bother, Robbie.
See you.
So Robbie Stapleford, our pole sitter there. Just a couple of people in the chat. Jeff Edmondson says, well done to Max, good start. And Carl Stapleford, good luck to everyone. Well, the cars are now all on the grid. We are just waiting for the lights to come on and get things underway tonight. Really excited. Think this is going to be a fantastic race, Dave, and I think it's going to be some good tight, close battling this evening.
Yeah, I've got to admit, round one was some fantastic racing. But this is a proper racetrack. We're going to see overtaking basically all the way around this track. So let's hope for not much carnage. And I'm very, very excited for this one.
Yeah, well, we've got the safety car option, obviously, if there is any carnage in lap one, just to group things up and give everyone a chance to reform. So we'll see what happens there, but hopefully, like you say, it's a good wide open track. The turn one proper doesn't really hit them for a good way around here, because the turn one that is Curva Grande isn't really much of a turn, is it? So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll get away clean this evening, and I'm sure Robbie will have his head down and be looking to get into turn one in the lead, as the lights are all now on, and we are just waiting for them to go off and get things underway. And indeed they are out and off they go, and instantly there's a couple of cars jockeying for position a bit further down, but it looks indeed like Jordan has got the jump on Robbie a little bit there, and it looked like he was just getting into the lead, as somebody else is making a hell of a start through the middle of the pack there. Just on the bottom of your screens there on the right, there was someone storming through, but looking at Robbie, still got that inside line, and indeed he holds it and manages to keep the lead, which it looked like he was going to lose to Jordan at one point there.
Yeah, I think I just caught out the glimpse of my eye. I think Jack McIntyre just lost the back end a little bit going into turn two, so I think he's just dropped down the pack a bit, but we'll see if he comes back through. But yeah, you saw the start there. Fantastic start by Jordan. Got the overrun, but then Robbie Stapleford just on slipstream brought it straight back into turn two and got the job done.
Yeah, and it looked like, again, the jostling for position. There's a couple of cars running wide, but Jordan and Robbie really, the slipstream's having a massive effect there, because I think they've almost swapped position a couple of times already on this lap, and Robbie's still at the lead and still holding his own there, and just looking at Jack McIntyre, who has dropped places and is down into 10th place as we speak at the moment, but Isaac Smith is also in this battle for the lead, as it were, on the back of Jordan Brennan, and nobody will want to lose touch with anybody, will Dave? They'll all want to keep in the slipstream, and indeed the safety car has been deployed now, so obviously they will all bunch up and nobody will have to worry about losing the slipstream at the moment. What Robbie Stapleford will have to worry about is he will be in control of the restart once the safety session is, or the safety car goes back into the pits.
Yeah, it's not what we want to see, that, is it? I think it was a bit of a big collision further back in the grid. Saw a big jumble up, but I can't quite believe it that Mike Epps from the very back has made his way up into PA. I mean, that just shows,
Keep your nose clean, Dave. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about preempting what's going on in front. And sometimes, if you just anticipate things a little bit, maybe don't go into a corner full commitment because you can see something going on, you can avoid a lot and make up a lot of positions. It's speaking from experience there, I have to say. But
yeah, well, I just noticed in the chat there, there's a lot of support for Max Edmondson. He'll be pleased. He's made his way up to 4th place, so Max is going strong. Let's see what he can do after the safety car start.
Yeah, interesting. It'd be interesting to watch, like I say, Jack McIntyre, Mike Epps coming through the field. Jack McIntyre's lost some positions, but we know Jack's never out of it. He will be battling to try and get back up onto the podium at the very least. But the real battle now will be once that safety car comes back into the pits. Robbie Stapleford will want to get his head down, and he'll want to really try and get the jump on Jordan Brennan, because otherwise Jordan Brennan is going to be in the slipstream all the way down the start finish and beyond the first turn of Curva Grande.
Yeah, I mean, I will say before the safety car comes in, because I imagine it will be coming in this lap, anyone who is on the hard tyres, this is really not playing in their hands. It's given a good lap here, running the minutes down, where the people on the medium tyres aren't wearing them down. So anyone who's on the hards here, that strategy is probably not going to play out.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Robbie Stapleford now to really sort of gun it, as the safety car has gone in, and it's down to him now. And he'll just be trying to get a bit of a gap and go, and
that is a
gone.
huge jump.
Yeah.
That is a huge jump that he's just got on Jordan there. I actually think this might play into Isaac's hands. Isaac's right on the back of Jordan here. You know, Robbie will be thinking, hopefully that battle go down into
Mike
turn 2.
Mike Epps has got the jump as well. He's up into 7th now on the restart. He got Gallagher off the line, and he's making good progress. And again, you know, he's out of one slipstream past Gallagher, and he's straight into the slipstream of Johnson. So he's making good progress.
Dear me, I'm just watching there how close that's getting between Isaac and Jordan. This is what we knew we were going to see. You know, the slipstream. It's like go-karts where it's like a stream of 20 karts. You know, this is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look back there and you can see 2, 3, and even 4 cars wide, and the jinking around. But yeah, Robbie Stapleford really got he aced that restart. As we see someone else off in the background there, that looked like maybe that's Mick Sutton, I think, that's gone sideways, lost the back end, and he's all the way to the back of the field, unfortunately for Mick. But yeah, Isaac's really on the back of Jordan Brennan. Robbie Stapleford managed to give himself enough breathing room to maintain the lead, and he's got just over half a second lead at the moment. And Jordan Brennan now, I think he's focused a little bit more on Isaac Smith behind him.
Yeah, I just don't know whether Jordan's maybe just sitting this one back a bit. You know, we noticed from the round before that, you know, his tyres dropped off a cliff really early in the race. So maybe that's showing that he's slightly harder on the tyres than some of the other runners. So maybe he's just sitting this one back, letting Robbie drive away a little bit, and just trying to protect his tyres that hopefully he can come back later on in the race.
Yeah, we've just seen Mike Epps has just gone past Max Edmondson as well to get, so Mike's now up to 5th place. That's absolutely astonishing start to the race for Mike, but Max Edmondson just showing him, he's looking like he was going to go around the outside, but he's certainly close enough to make an attack, and indeed he's just jinking around there, but Mike's sort of going defensive and going over to the inside there and defending very well and not really giving Edmondson anywhere to go, but Max just needs to be canny and just follow Mike, because Mike's got the pace, and potentially Mike will pull them up through the field.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually. You know, he can see the pace Mike's got. If he's smart, he'll tuck in, try and get the slipstream, and really work with Mike to try and close the gap to Charlie and Isaac. But as we see there, I believe, was that Jack McIntyre trying to have a go at Max there?
Absolutely, yeah, it is indeed. Yeah, McIntyre's joined the party, so it's a 3-car battle. I mean, nobody's really spread out at the moment. They are all very, very close still, as we can see on the screens there, all running very, very wide, using the rumble strip and a little bit more, but you know, they're all keeping very, very close together, as you can see from the relative timings. But we've got Robbie Stapleford after 3 laps, he's in the lead. We've got Jordan Brennan, who is now 1.3 seconds back from Robbie, so Robbie has really dropped the hammer, and he's not really, I would say, managing any tyres. He's just he's going for it, isn't he, at the moment? And Isaac Smith in 3rd place, Oliver in 4th, Epps in 5th, Edmondson 6th. So Edmondson is still behind Epps, but he's got McIntyre in close attention in 7th behind him, and Jack's coming back through the field after dropping down to 10th on the opening lap. Johnson in 8th, Gallagher 9th, and Robbie Walters rounding out the top 10 currently. But yeah, some good racing. That they are starting to spread out a little bit into little groups, but I don't think anyone's really got any clear air other than Robbie Stapleford at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope Robbie isn't pushing these tyres too hard. As we see Max Bird there into turn 2 using that same overtake manoeuvre. I think he's just done 2 cars.
I was going to say he did 2 there, but he's I think that's Gallagher just got back at him a little bit, and you know, he just maybe he let Max go quite deep there and cut back on him, didn't he, and dive back down the inside of him. But
yeah, I don't think Tony Gallagher was too happy about overtaking 2 cars there, so I think he gave him a bit of an argy-bargy off the side of the track there. But you know, as we see, Jack McIntyre really applying some pressure here to Max Edmondson.
Yeah, Edmondson and McIntyre are swapping positions, as you can see on the leaderboard. They're just up and down a little bit, so Max Edmondson defending well, McIntyre really attacking hard and actually getting in front on a couple of occasions, but Edmondson coming straight back at him and holding that 6th place. But Mike Epps has just pulled away from Edmondson at the minute because he's having to defend from McIntyre, and Epps is closing up on Oliver pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm just under Robbie Stapleford's time here. I just hope he isn't taking too much out of them tyres, you know. He's put a lap time in there on the previous lap, half a second faster than anyone. You know, that's a huge amount of time to open out. So we'll just have to watch Robbie and see if he gets that tyre degradation happening. But yeah, Jack might be close enough here, coming out of turn 1. The last corner, sorry, down towards turn 1. Might just by turn 2 have enough just to show his nose into turn 2 and put Max under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Brennan up ahead. He's pulled a gap of nearly a second on Isaac Smith. So Jordan Brennan could potentially, if he can manage that gap to Stapleford, he could be also managing his tyres for a bit of an attack later on in the races. We're just looking back now at Max Bird, trying to make his way through the field, currently in 10th place, but looking to try and get past Gallagher again, but not managing it on that occasion. But he's still in the slipstream. He's still jinking left to right, and he's still putting Gallagher under quite a bit of pressure. Indeed, he's trying to go around the outside of him, which he's almost done. I think he has pretty much just about got around the outside of him there.
That's a great move. So this is going down towards a left-hand hairpin here, so I would say as long as he can defend it, which, Tony
contact.
Gallagher there showed his nose. Max tried to defend it off, but that's not the sort of move you want to be doing in a single seater. You know, all this is going to be doing is hindering their straight line speed. You know, they're going to end up being a sitting duck if they keep up the collisions.
Yeah, absolutely. That sort of tin top tactics in an open wheel car that don't really go together. It is a totally different discipline for obvious reasons. So you just want to try and keep things clean. As we're looking at Rob Butler now, who's into 10th place, and he's now behind Tony Gallagher, and he's got in front of Max Bird. All that contact's just cost Max Bird a place and pushed him down to 11th place. And indeed, contact again further back there. A couple of cars gone off. That looks like Max Bird again and Rob Waltons.
That's not what we want to see. That is. I don't know whether I missed it, but I don't quite know where Rob Butler came from there. I'm sure he was down in sort of 14th place, and then all of a sudden he's ended up battling up in 9th place. You know, not too far off the back of the rest of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair though, some of the guys back there, they were running pretty close together, and as we saw, Max Bird almost took 2 cars in one go. The slipstream's a powerful thing, and you can get past one guy in front of you and he pulls straight back into the slipstream of another car, and it can be very advantageous indeed, and help you to make up a few positions. But Jack McIntyre still not got past Max Edmondson, and he's actually dropped back to round about half a second behind Edmondson at the minute, albeit still close enough and in the slipstream to make a move. But yeah, it's just Edmondson weathering the storm, so to speak, with Jack McIntyre at the moment, as we're now following Tony Gallagher, who is in that 10th place behind Rob Butler, and with Andy Dorman 1.5 seconds further back from Gallagher. So he's clear behind. Gallagher needs to focus on Butler in 9th place and try and get back on the gearbox and make some moves.
Yeah, you know, Tony's new to the VRRC Championships. I think he was actually recommended them by Rob Butler. So they're quite good friends themselves. So running, you know, 9th and 10th place, Tony be thinking, if I just hang on the back of Rob here, maybe he'll help us draw us back onto the pack and make some places up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is one thing with the Formula racing of this sort of level is, you know, you really can work together as drivers, using the slipstreams to help pull yourself back towards the front of the field if you do it the right way, rather than battling and defending all the time, and just use the slipstreams to tow each other along. Oh,
massively. I mean, I'm just looking at the timing sheet here again. You know, you've got Mike Epps on a 32.8 last lap, Max Edmondson on a 32.9, and Jack Mack on a 33.0. You know, you're talking a 10th of a second between 3 runners there. You know, I mean, actually, we've just noticed Robbie Stapleford dropped down to 7th place.
Yeah, I was just going to say, mate, as you were talking there, saw Stapleford dropping like a stone, and he has dropped down to 7th place. So it'll be interesting to see, to talk to him and sort of wonder what's happened there, basically, with him, because he's now a second behind McIntyre, as we can see on our screens there. He's in fact, he's got Johnson in close attention, and he's having to defend from Johnson at the moment to keep that 7th place. So massive disappointment for Stapleford, as seeming like he almost had the I won't say the race in the bag because of the tyre management situation, but he certainly had a healthy lead and he had a bit of a cushion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his car here and I can't see any visual damage, so I don't think he's hit a wall or anything like that, but maybe it was a spin because he's pushed his tyres too hard, which I was worried about with the lap time. So yeah, maybe we're just seeing the tyre degradation here, or maybe it was just a simple spin in that little off-camber turn 2 right-hander that I was on about.
Yeah, and also interesting to see Mike Epps obviously making some really fast progress, but he seems to have got up to that 4th place now behind Oliver, and he's not really closing that gap, and in fact they're all lapping pretty much within a few tenths of each other throughout, certainly the top sort of 6 or 7 now. So I wonder if the tyres are an issue again at this round, and whether they are, the performance is going from them, and it's sort of levelling out towards the end of the race because you know, the grip's going away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking here. There's not really anyone in that magic bracket. You know, Jack's just about on it, 0.6 of a second off the back of Edmondson there. You know, if you can get them cars within half a second, that's just going to bring that slipstream into it. And, you know, you get within half a second of the car in front, that's when you really start to maybe gain a 3/10 of a second just on slipstream, put you right onto the back. I was going to say back bumper, but it's back aero, really, isn't it, of these single seats?
Absolutely, yeah, just on the rear diff. But yeah, the Jordan Brennan now, he's got just under a second ahead now of Isaac Smith, and to be fair, you'd have to say Jordan Brennan hasn't had to battle too hard. He hasn't pushed as hard as Robbie Stapleford, so maybe it's Jordan Brennan's race to lose now. Maybe he's managed those tyres better, and he's going to be able to bring that home in first place with that gap of a second back to Smith now. Oliver's half a second behind Smith, so Oliver's now maybe getting into that sweet spot where he's going to pick up the toe from Smith, and Smith's going to have to start watching in his mirrors now for Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but Jordan has been in this position before in round one, and we know how that ended up. But, you know, I'm sure Jordan's done a bit more practice on full race spec with the fuel. He's going to know what the tyres are going to do, and he might have predicted it a little bit better. But we're noticing Charlie Oliver is just, I don't know whether it's Mike Epps getting closer to Charlie, so Charlie's put his foot down a bit more, and he's really starting to push onto the back of Isaac. So this race is far from over yet, like.
Definitely, mate, and this is going to be a 3-car battle now for second place very, very soon. I would say by the end of this straight almost, because I think they're all starting to really close up on each other. And, you know, it's going to get very, very interesting very, very quickly. And don't discount Mike Epps from jumping up and taking that second spot, because we've got 4 minutes and sort of 30 seconds just over to go of this race, plus a lap at the end. And, you know, it's getting very tasty and getting very, very close. There's 3 cars all there within sort of covered by around about a second.
Yeah, I mean, this race is really starting to develop towards the end, isn't it? I wonder whether with the tyre dropping off, whether we were just going to sort of see this stalemate to the end where cars were holding about a second gap, but no one was really progressing. But we're seeing Charlie Oliver really starting to put pressure on Isaac. Isaac's dropped another 2/10 off the back of Brennan, so Charlie's really in this now.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Isaac's just, you know, having to, he's starting to drive a bit more defensive. That's why he's losing time to Brennan, or whether it's a tyre issue for him, one or the other. Whatever happens now, Oliver's definitely in the slipstream, and he's going to be attacking, I would say, very, very soon, coming into this corner, even maybe as they go around the Curvy Grande.
Yeah, watch the move here. Watch the move here. This is it. In fact, I think that was actually a bump from Charlie to go. Was that to Isaac to go, let's go forward instead of defending? Because can he see the gap closing with Mike? Or, you know, is this drivers trying to work together to pull away? Or was that just Isaac pulled over, was defending hard, and Charlie wasn't expecting it?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'll go with the latter. But to be fair, you know, these guys know what they're doing, and I won't be surprised. Although there, he's just pushed wide, and that's like let Mike Epps through. There was a bit of contact there, wheel to wheel, by the looks of it, and Oliver came off worst, and he's lost out to Epps now. So Isaac Smith's going to have to look behind him, because he's got a hard charging Mike Epps in his mirrors now. But again, that's all played in the hands of Brennan, because now Smith is 1.8 seconds off the back of Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, that corner there that you saw there is a notoriously slidey corner. You know, it's a very fast running, high aero, and people think, you know, you can go around the outside. But as Isaac's shown, just carried more speed into the corner than Charlie did, and Charlie was on the outside trying to go around the outside. Isaac's one of the drivers that, you know, he's a typical go-karter. You can't go around the outside of Isaac, he won't allow it. So as we see Mike here, hopefully he doesn't try the same thing.
Yeah, but I tell you what though, Oliver he's back on it. He's closed right back up to those guys as well after that little bit of an excursion, and he's potentially he's going to come off the best of all 3 of them here, because he's getting a double slipstream if he can get himself in a position. But he's definitely in a position where he can take advantage of any mistakes, any contact, as we see a little bit of a almost wheel to wheel rubbing again there.
Oh God, I don't even want to watch this. I don't even want to watch this. I mean,
Epps is pushed wide, Isaac Smith there, and it's looking like
there was Charlie Oliver there repaying the favour for the turn after. There it is.
So that's Isaac Smith now has dropped all the way down to 6th place. Epps is up to 2nd at the moment as we speak. this is all happening now in the closing 1 minute and 30 seconds of this race to go. Good evening, Michelle Dunn. She says hi, Josh. But yeah, this is Jordan Brennan, 3 seconds in the lead. Mike Epps all the way through to second place from started last on the grid. Oliver in third, Edmondson currently fourth, McIntyre up to fifth, Smith down to sixth, Stapleford down to seventh, our early race leader. So yeah, it's all up, all happening, all getting interesting as we're on board in the bottom right of the screen there with Jack McIntyre. Top screen is the battle for second place with Epps and Co, as it were, and they're all still very, very close. I think this can all still change in these closing moments of this race, Dave.
I don't believe it. We just saw Max Edmondson there. I believe that was the tyre issue again. They just lost the back going out of the stadium section. Hopefully he can hang on and bring home a top 10 there. It's promoted Robbie Stapleford up into 6th place now, just behind Isaac. So Robbie's crawled his way back up. As we see Charlie Oliver here on the back of Mike Epps again in that slipstream, we'll see a late lunge into turn 2.
Yeah, and Jack McIntyre, our current championship leader, he's now up to 4th place. So again, from a steady start for Jack McIntyre, and currently he was down to 10th place after lap 1. He's now back up to 4th place. So another solid performance from Jack. As we're looking at Oliver on Epps, and it's looking like he got a bit of a slipstream there, and he's potentially putting himself into a position for the inside here.
I think Mike just ran slightly wide there coming out of turn 2 onto the gravel, and it just gave Charlie really the overspeed to try and get alongside him. But then obviously he didn't have the slipstream, and it's allowed him to have the slipstream up the hill with Charlie. As we see, Mike Epps is still defending into the hairpin on the inside. Is Charlie going to get the cut back with a better traction? No. See Mike just hanging on, so Mike will have to be really defensive here going into the stadium section, because when it goes tight here, it's easy to throw an inside move.
Yeah, and all the time Jack McIntyre's actually closed up on these two guys as well. But we are coming to the very final few corners of this race. But Jack McIntyre isn't out of this podium yet. He could still get 1 foot on that podium and maybe pull off a bit of a good recovery drive after, as I say, drop down to 10th place on the first lap. But Jordan Brennan's looking like he's potentially going to bring this one home after being handed the win when Robbie Stapleford had an issue. And it's looking like Jordan Brennan is now on the last lap. So he's on the last lap and he's just got to bring it home now. He's got a nice steady gap to the other guys. He's not under any serious pressure. It's all going on behind him, however, with Epps, Oliver and McIntyre. He's just about putting himself in the picture, although he's a little bit too far back to do anything at the moment. He's got the rest of this lap to try and close up, but it's definitely Epps and Oliver battling hard for that second place.
And this is exactly where Charlie can really put the pressure on. It's uphill in the slipstream, going into that right-hander where it's so tempting to try and put around the outside, which would give the inside line going into the hairpin. As we see that move there, Charlie round the outside, will Mike let it stick? No, well defended by Mike there. So Charlie's going to have to try something down this hairpin. Meanwhile, all the time, Jack McIntyre is getting closer.
Yeah, absolutely closing in. As we were saying there, he's just really watching, and he's racing, he's driving his lines, he's racing his race, and he's closed right onto the back of Oliver now. He's literally just under 2/10. In fact, he's actually showing Oliver his nose and looking like he was going to go around the outside, which is going to give Epps a bit of breathing space and let Epps maybe just get a little bit of a gap on Oliver, as we see Jordan Brennan still just steady away out in the front with 3.5 second lead. He's not really put a foot wrong this race, and he's going to bring it home for the win as he comes round what is the final corner to take the checkered flag in race 1. Absolutely fantastic drive from Jordan Brennan, winner of race 1, well deserved. Didn't put a foot wrong in that race, Dave. I think he Stapleford handed that lead to him for whatever reason, whatever issue Stapleford had, and Jordan Brennan said thank you very much, and he's brought it home. Epps has brought it home in 2nd, Oliver 3rd, McIntyre a good 4th, Isaac Smith 5th, Robbie Stapleford down in 6th place, Rob Butler 7th, Dorman brings it home in 8th, looking like Johnson will come home in 9th, and Carroll 10th, with Edmondson should bring it home in 11th, and Mick Sutton a bit of a recovery drive in 12th, with Gallagher 13th and Walters at the moment in 14th, and Lamy in 15th. Fairclough 16th, Max Bird retired to the pits in 17th place.
That was a fair list, that.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It's, nearly confused myself towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great result for Jordan. That you know, he drove a solid race there. It didn't really look like ever he was out of his comfort zone, really. Just drove his own race, looked after the tyres, and brought it home over 3 seconds ahead of everyone. But I mean, standout drive. Mike Epps from the back of the grid, second on the grid. I mean,
yeah, definitely,
that's a great result, that, isn't it?
It was, mate. And I tell you what, I feel bad for Edmondson there, because he was defending really well. He was having a really good battle. He was doing well to stay sort of in that top 6 and just battling hard, battling clean, battling fair. And then he just had that little bit of a spin, bit of an issue, and it dropped him down the field, which is never good to see. Robbie Stapleford, I'm not quite sure what happened to him. He seemed to be really powering away. He got the gap up to around about sort of, well, it was over 2 seconds certainly, and then all of a sudden he just dropped like a stone. Obviously had an issue, a spin, whether it was tyre wear, I'm not quite sure. I'm sure you'll have a chat with him after the race in the Discord server.
Yeah, I'm actually going to try and find out now. I'm going to send him a cheeky message and see if I can find a bit of insight to what happened ready for race 2.
Just open up the wound a bit more for him.
Yeah, you know, you just got to rub the salt in. You know, you only learn from mistakes. So, but yeah, I mean, saying that, it's putting him 6th on the grid. It's putting him in a good position for reverse grid to get him a little bit further up the grid of his championship rivals. Yeah, I mean, what can you say, really? I mean, Charlie, phenomenal race as well. And Jack there with the consistent 4th place finish. You know, it's a solid result.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's the guys are here for an interview, Dave. So if you want to lead and have a chat with them, I'll let you seem to ask the probing questions. So I think I'm going to let you lead and probe away, buddy.
I'll go and well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say actually. Right, how are we doing, guys? I'll start off with 3rd place, Charlie Oliver. A good solid result, but not to say it didn't lack action, that did it?
I could say that, yeah. I was trying to go around the outside of Isaac. It didn't quite work out. I think he outbraked himself a bit. And then a really good battle with Mike. But yeah, 3rd's not too bad. It's could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the thing with these championships. I mean, it's quite a short championship, but you've always got to think of championship points. You know, 3rd place is a lot better than, you know, getting punted off and ended up further back in the 10th sort of place. So, yeah, really solid drive there, Charlie. Just interested to know how the tyres were. What was there any sort of serious degradation like it was in round 1, or were they slightly better around here?
It's better. I mean, I'm running quite a lot of downforce, so trying to help with that, but it's a little painful down the straights.
Yeah, I wondered on that actually, because I mean, it's one of them tracks where you can't really have a car that's good everywhere. You know, you've got the slow stadium section, the tight airpins, but then also the straights quite like Monza. You know, you're a sitting duck in the slipstream essentially.
Yeah, and very difficult to pass other than at the end of the straights. So, yeah, pretty tough, but a great circuit nonetheless.
Yeah, it's providing some great action and good solid result there, Charlie. Well done. We'll move on to 2nd place, Mike Epps from the back of the grid without any quali.
Yeah, it wasn't deliberate, I promise you. But flipping heck, I never thought a computer could give me such a run of emotions, but it can. During quali, I was getting 20 frames a second or something for some reason. So I've restarted the PC, rejoined a few times, and then suddenly it was up to about 60. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to curse it, but it seems like your tech issues aren't too bad, or even if you do have tech issues, God help us to how fast you can probably go without them.
Yeah, I know. I think as long as I stay in the server and don't do anything, we'll be alright for the time being. But I've had problems with Assetto Corsa since owning this PC. It's one of the reasons I didn't do the first mini challenge championship, to be honest, because I couldn't get the sound working. I sound like a complete noob, and I'm not. I actually have half an idea of what I'm doing, but at the moment I've got a few strange bugs going on at the moment with Assetto, so I'm battling against quite a lot, let alone the other drivers. I'm battling against, you know, it's like being blind in one eye or something in a real life car.
Well, you're still definitely doing all right.
Yeah,
mean,
not too bad.
You're definitely making a habit of this, starting at the back and coming through to finish second place essentially. But
Seems to be my style. Yeah, I'd like to have a proper crack at it at some point. And once I've got all this running right, and I've, probably put to admit myself, put a few more laps in beforehand and actually giving it a better crack. But it's a bit of a busy time of year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult. I think I'd spent the life of my rear tyres again. So certainly an element of my driving style and probably, battling through as well has caused that. But credit to Charlie, that was actually a good fun race. So I hope there weren't any weird moments or anything my side. But I've got internet and PC intermittent problems here or there. So
it's
no wonder I'm out there.
It's a solid effort, Mike, and we'll hopefully see you on the podium in race 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to see how we go now. So, cheers, mate.
Right, we'll move quickly on to Jordan, race winner of round 2, race 1. Pretty easy win that, Jordan. Really, you didn't look too stressed. You weren't pushing the car too hard, and yet your times were just exactly what they needed to be to bring home the win.
Yeah, it went pretty well, to be fair. I was just, the game plan for that was just to look after the tyres. And then when I seen Robbie putting in quick laps, I knew his tyres would have gone. And when it did go, I was like, yep. I couldn't more happier, but yeah, the gap just sort of got bigger to Isaac. And I seen them battling, and I just knew just to look after my tyres. And just still had a little bit of life left in at the end as well.
Yeah, well, championship-wise, that's obviously really helping the point scenario there. Any tactics for race 2? Is it just going to be keep clean, or are you going to really try and push to try and get through the pack early on?
Just look after my tyres again. I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah, there's not really that much strategy you can put forward, is there, in a reverse grid? You get given what hand you dealt. So, good luck for race 2. I'll let you get in the zone, and yeah, we'll hopefully speak to you after race 2.
Cheers, thanks.
So the cars are all lined up now on the grid. We're waiting for the lights. We have got the reverse grid in play. So interesting to see some of the guys now. Will Mike Epps repeat his race 1 performance and battle through to the front? Jordan Brennan there will be starting almost at the back. Is it top 15 reverse?
Top 12, Steve.
Top 12, yeah. Sorry, top 12. So he's in 12th place. So he's got 11 cars in front of him to battle through. So it's going to be an interesting one, Dave, as the lights are coming on now. So let's see how we go and see if we can get a safety car free start as they make a great start. All the cars moving away pretty cleanly. A couple of guys getting a real flyer of a start, and a couple of the guys bogging down a little bit on the line there, Dave.
Yeah, I think that was a few guys got a good start, but more so Mick just got a pretty terrible one. As I believe, big time there, that was Andy Dorman, I believe, who seemed to get tagged. I think that's going to be almost a definite safety car there.
Yeah, absolutely. He went off at a real high speed. There's a few cars up and down at the moment, but Edmondson is showing us in the lead at the moment, and just hard to judge because they're all weaving now, so definitely safety car deployed. But yeah, when they get a start here on this track, it's such a wide open track, and the slipstream is so effective, and we're getting cars 2-3 wide as they're coming down the start finish straight there, all jostling for position, and it's so easy for someone just to make contact with the wheels there, and I'm guessing that's probably what happened with Andy Dorman, and it sort of just sent him off stage left, I think it was, over to the barriers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's nothing more terrifying here than racing open wheel. In tin top, I like to think I do okay. You can get away with little bits of contact here and there, and you're not too worried about going door to door. Here, you've got to know exactly where your tyres are, and any tyre-to-tyre contact can spin your car straight off. So it's definitely going to play an advantage to the guys who are used to open wheel karts. They've raced this, throughout their childhood, and you can tell who's got the racecraft there. But I believe, unfortunately, in that Andy Dorman incident, I believe he managed to tag Mike Epps. So Mike Epps has also spun and gone to the back of the grid. So that safety car's really going to help.
We've got Isaac Smith in the pits as well.
Actually, as I've just missed that, I believe the safety car's in. Is the safety car in, or is it still out?
Well, they haven't caught up to the safety car, but they're still not racing. They're still just going round at safety car speed.
We'll call it virtual safety car race, Steve.
Must be virtual safety car. Yeah, but just what I was going to say is though, Edmondson, he showed in race 1 that he's got reasonable pace. He's found himself now at the head of the field. Stapleford in 3rd place. They've caught up to the safety car. Maybe. So safety cars arrived on the scene. Maybe it's better late than never. But Edmondson and Stapleford. Rob Butler. It's difficult. You start reading down the list of names, and you sort of think. Initially, you think, oh yeah, he's looking good here. But then you look down, and Stapleford in 3rd, Butler 4th. You can't. Oliver in 6th. They're all.
Yeah. More crucially, though, Steve, you're looking at Robbie Stapleford in 3rd place. But, think of the bigger picture in the championship. The big competitors, Jordan Brennan, Jack McIntyre, they're down near the 10th place area. So, Max Edmondson, he's got a nice little breather. He's got a car in between him and Robbie. He needs to probably take the pressure off and think Robbie's there. And he really needs to focus on just getting his head down, breaking that slipstream early and looking after his tyres and bringing home the win.
Yeah, I wonder if Stapleford's learned his lesson from race 1. If the tyres did just drop off on him, whether he's going to try and sort of come through here and put some pressure on Johnson and maybe then Edmondson, but just try and preserve some tyres as well, or whether he's going to get too much pressure from Butler, Carroll, Oliver, any of those guys behind him. It's very, very difficult, I think, to manage anything as we're looking like we're about to get underway again.
Yeah, Max made a good jump there, and you saw Max really opened up that last corner to try and gain all the advantages. We see already Robbie Stapleford getting through on the slipstream. He's going to have to do a bit of defending here into turn 2 to not get re-overtaken. But that's a great gap that Max has managed to open up there, and Robbie made the most of that restart as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just looking at Mike Epps, who's up to 11th place now. He's sort of making a bit of a comeback. He was down in around about 14th, I think, wasn't he, Dave, initially, after the contact. So he's made a couple of places already. And just looking here now, Stapleford and Edmondson. Is that Edmondson? Sorry, or is it Johnson? He's still battling with. No, it's Johnson. Edmondson's away up the field, the track. He's extended that gap to a 2nd, so he's doing really well. He's managing to pull out a little bit of a gap on these guys, and Stapleford's made that move stick now, and he's got half a second on Johnson. So Stapleford now will get his head down, and in race 1 he did have the lap times to try to open up a big gap at the front, but at the expense potentially of his tyre wear. So I've no doubt he's possibly going to catch Edmondson. But it's how much wear is he going to take out of these tyres catching and then potentially passing.
Yeah, so if I was Max here, I'll be really thinking if Robbie gets onto the back of us, I'm not going to defend too hard. The race has got 15 minutes left. Let's just really try and, as we see there, a little slide there. Was that Jack McIntyre?
That's Jack McIntyre, yeah. Very uncharacteristically just lost the back end, did well to catch it, and he's managed to rejoin without any contact with anybody else. But that'll have heated his tyres up a little bit, and more importantly, it's put him back down to 12th place.
As I think I saw there, Mike Epps has just got a slight bit of damage on his front wing, I think I caught in the mirror. So that might be hindering Mike Epps' progress down these straights. But we're seeing Mike, he can race wheel to wheel with the likes of anyone. So if he's going to progress through the grid, I will keep a watch out.
Yeah, definitely, and it'd be interesting to see the lap times after this lap as well, to see how hard Stapleford's pushing compared to Edmondson, as we're now watching Epps, and definitely he's got some damage on that front wing, so he's going to be suffering with a bit of understeer, I would say, into certainly some of the higher speed corners. He's definitely going to be feeling that one.
Oh, as we just see there, contact with Isaac again. Isaac up the inside, just not really being very forgiving on how much track he's using there. But, it's hard, aggressive racing, but it's getting the job done. It's getting through the grid.
Yeah, and it's always, like I said in race 1, it's a bit scary when it's the open wheelers, because if you're lucky enough and unlucky to make contact, but lucky enough that it's wheel to wheel, it's not too bad. But it's you can soon get tangled up, and as we saw right at the start of the race with Dorman, he exits again. As there is that looks like Carroll spinning round there and dropping down the field now. I think he got a little bit of a tap on the back to help him on his way, but it certainly cost him a few places. He's down to 11th as he recovers. In fact, he's dropping a little bit further and down to 12th. But we're looking at Walters now in 8th place. He's 2/10 off the back of Smith, and certainly in the slipstream now where it matters. But he's also got Fairclough behind him, who's got McIntyre behind him.
Yeah, we see Fairclough here just putting the pressure on Robin. It's a very, very difficult scenario, this, because he's got to be thinking about trying to overtake Isaac, but then you got Will. But as we see, Jack McIntyre trying the late lunge on Will Fairclough there. Will's doing very well with a top 10 position here. But yeah, Isaac seems to have the job done on Robin at the moment.
Yeah, McIntyre managed to hold the inside line there, and he's now on the back of Walters, and like you say, Smith up in front and defending from Walters, and it could all get a little bit complicated very quickly now as Jack McIntyre is joining the party, and obviously Fairclough is not out of the equation. He's only a 10th behind McIntyre as he's hanging onto the back of Jack. So Edmondson still 1.4 seconds ahead of Stapleford, so it doesn't look like Stapleford's got an answer for Edmondson at the moment, or whether he's just managing the tyre situation, as you said, and just trying to manage that gap and stay in touch with Edmondson.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen the pace Robbie's got, but that's not to say, and Max has got great pace as well. 32.8, that was front running pace in the last race, so Max has definitely got the speed there. That's not an issue. But we're noticing Robbie's on a 33.2 last lap, so maybe Robbie's really looking after his tyres here, because he knew how much they went off the wall. Actually, as I say that, he's just done a 32.6, so he's reeling Max by it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's it's only by about sort of a tenth and a half there, but it's it's 1.2 seconds back. He's close enough to staying in touch. As we're just looking back from Isaac Smith, and we see McIntyre making a move on Walters as he comes out of the slipstream. He's got the inside line. He's going to make that move stick in the second half of that corner, as it looked like Fairclough running very wide in the background, and indeed I think he's had a spin now. So yeah, indeed he's dropping down the field. He's unfortunately lost the back end and just spun off. But yeah, McIntyre's not quite finished with Walters at the minute. Walters is coming back at him, but I think Jack's managed to defend that just about and hold the position.
Yeah, this is where we might see Robin throw it up the inside into the hairpin if he's feeling brave, or no, he's just going to sit behind Jack and try and get any slipstream and gain in on Isaac, who's just starting to pull a gap on Jack now.
Yeah, and if you look at the bottom right hand of your screen, you've got Jordan Brennan and Oliver battling hard. Jordan Brennan on the gearbox of Charlie Oliver and looking for a way around. But looking like Mike Epps has been in and done some repairs. He was in the pits not so long ago, so he's got that car repaired and he's come back out on track. So he's going to be putting some fast and furious laps in now just to see if he can recover anything from this second race points-wise.
Yeah, I mean, you get a point for fastest lap, so it's worth him probably coming out on the softs and trying to do the fastest lap of the race to secure some form of point. But yeah, I mean, it's not been the race for Mike, has it? Damage early on with what happened at the start of the race, and then the collision with another car, and it's not really gone his way. But fair play to him for staying in the race and pitting and trying to put the fastest lap in.
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, Robbie Stapleford's put a 1:32.6 in compared to Max Edmondson's 1:33.4, so 8/10 faster pretty much, and that's putting 2/10 behind Edmondson now. So wow. He's really closed, 3/10. Sorry, he's now really closed that gap up, and he's letting Max Edmondson know that he's under pressure and he's there. So he's probably going to be looking to make a move anytime soon.
Yeah, I noticed on the timing sheets there, Jordan Brennan's actually got past Charlie Oliver as well. So everyone's starting to make a little bit of progress on the person in front of you. So, yeah, it's getting interesting.
Yeah, and good to see that Walters as well isn't letting McIntyre have it all his own way. He's just about hanging on to the back of him, and these two guys have swapped positions a couple of times in a few corners on the last couple of laps. And Jack McIntyre, I think he's finally managed to make that move stick into 8th place, but he's not had it all his own way. Walters has really made him work for that, as we're now following Jordan Brennan, who is 7/10 off the back of Butler, but he's got Charlie Oliver just under half a second, so 4.5 behind him, keeping him honest and putting him under pressure at the minute. Yeah, as Edmondson and Stapleford are battling, they've just swapped positions. I think Stapleford momentarily took the lead.
Yeah, I think they swapped positions twice there in that stadium section. I don't know whether was that maybe tactics by Robbie there to purposely let Max through to try and get the slipstream back here, but if it was, it hasn't worked. But Robbie's diving. Is he going for it? No, Max has defended that really well. That's a good solid drive, and he's going to get on the power. Uphill here, this is where slipstream really is beneficial to these slightly lower powered Formula 4 cars. Robbie's going to put it up the inside. I reckon that's job done. I reckon that's job done going at this corner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's looking like Stapleford. Edmondson's not giving up, as we saw in race 1. He knows how to defend. He defends hard, and he will defend hard. But Stapleford has managed to get in front, but it's not all over by any means. As there you go, Edmondson again back down the inside, pushing hard. Fantastic racing. Runs a little bit wide, but manages to keep it all in check and get the power down, and manages to take that first place back as we speak at this moment in time. Stapleford, he's looking, and he's pushing, and he's not giving up by any means. He's still keeping Edmondson on. He's putting him under pressure, and again down the inside. So that's 3 overtakes in 4 corners. I mean, that doesn't get any closer or any faster than this, does it, Dave?
No, I mean, this is what I want to see. I think we need to tell these guys there's still 7 minutes of the race left. You know, I don't know what this is going to be doing to the tyre wear, but while these battle, Jordan Brennan is up into 3rd position. You know, they're gonna have to watch them times if they're going to start battling this hard.
Here's my train of thought, Dave. Jordan Brennan's now in 3rd place, watching those 2 guys swapping positions, thinking, you know what, a win's on the cards for me.
Yeah, we know what he's thinking, don't we? We know what he's thinking. I mean, you know, Jordan's doing what he did in race 1, solid laps, looking after his tyres, and there's a podium position. You know, he's doing everything he needs to.
Yeah, Robbie Stapleford again. He's managed to defend. He's got that lead, and he's holding on to it by the skin of his teeth, which is 0.2 of a second at the minute. As Edmondson's keeping him under pressure, and he's now in the slipstream. And it's a case of, is he going to jink out and dive down? Stapleford moves across to cover the inside line ever so slightly, and manages to hold the lead from Edmondson this time round. But there's not a lot in it. They are very, very close. As we're looking back at Butler, Oliver, McIntyre, Smith, all battling away further down.
There's contact there. Max Edmondson just late on the brakes. Robbie tried to close the door there, and it's just not worked out. Max has got the advantage, and Robbie's dropped down to 3rd place with all the pressure of Jordan Brennan and Charlie Oliver on him.
That's not what you want to see. Some great driving there from both those guys. Really close, really good battling, and the contact it's never great to see, and I'm unlucky there for Stapleford. But as we were saying there, Jordan Brennan, he's rubbing his hands, isn't he? He's now up to 2nd place. Edmondson's just over 2 seconds up the road. Edmondson needs to, if he's got life left in those tyres now, he really needs to just manage that gap to Brennan, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there was contact there. It wasn't the worst. Max put his nose there, made it known that he was going for the move. And I think Robbie just decided a little bit too late to try and close the door across the front of Max there. And, you know, he did very well to only, you know, half spin it, keep the clutch down, pull away and keep it up into 4th position. So was it probably worth trying to defend it that late? It probably was, looking at how much he's lost out. He hasn't thrown the race away yet.
No, definitely not. I mean, if you're watching the stream this evening, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. Secondly, if you fancy getting involved in some of this great racing, then obviously head over to the website, which is www.virtualrealityracingclub.com. You'll find all the details for joining the Discord community, signing up to some fantastic league racing, and you could be featured on the streams in weeks to come as part of all this fantastic racing. As Edmondson, he's managing that gap. It's 2.1 with Brennan. Brennan's got a gap back to Oliver. And the Stapleford's trying to make his way back up now. He's back up to 4th place. He's trying to recover what he can from this race now after some fantastic battling there. And like you say, a bit of an unlucky incident, really. Not necessarily the worst, as we just see a little bit more contact there. And 2 cars running off the track and over the rumble strips.
Well, I believe that there was Robbie Stapleford.
It was Robbie Stapleford again,
and then Isaac being in the gravel later on in the corner. I mean, if I'm truly honest, I sort of knew that wasn't going to work. 2 very, very good go-karts that, you know, them are moves that will work in a go-kart, and it's all about aggression, you know. It just doesn't quite work on a sim in single-seaters, but, you know, it's what they know, and, you know, it makes for great racing, doesn't it?
We've had some fantastic racing in what is only the second time out for these cars. So the guys are learning very, very quickly with regards to how to extract the best from these cars. We're seeing Jack McIntyre now attacking Rob Butler, and indeed he's just gone around the outside of Rob Butler, courtesy of a bit of a slipstream. But Rob's trying to come back at him up the inside. He's forcing Jack McIntyre wide, but Jack's keeping it planted, keeping it all in line, and he's managed to just about defend that position from Rob Butler. And Rob's going to try and tuck back into that slipstream and close back up onto the gearbox of Jack again.
Yeah, that was a great move. I thought Rob was really going to try and stick that up in inside there, but just didn't seem to have the grip from the tyres that Jack did. As we actually see, Mike Epps has done the fastest lap, so Mike Epps has got that point. I can't see that being beaten with people on older tyres, and I would imagine Mike's probably gone out on softs.
No, definitely not. But I mean, just interestingly, with the McIntyre, Butler, Johnson, and now Stapleford, as we can see on the back of Johnson, and looking again just to try and recover something from this race. His sixth position isn't a bad finish, but Stapleford is really, he's had two opportunities this evening, two bites of the cherry, leading race one, battling with the lead for race two, and he's sort of come off worst in both races.
Yeah, the only thing I hope is that it then ties really, for anyone watching this stream that sort of hasn't driven this car before, as soon as you start to get like a bit of a slide on, that back left tyre just starts to really overheat rapidly. So Robbie Stapleford's probably doing a very, very good job here in trying to get that up that grid with such big tyre wear.
Yeah, it's just looking like Rob Butler's just had a little bit of contact with Isaac Smith and just cost Rob Butler a couple of positions. Mike Epps, just been told, has had an issue as well. He's DNF now. He's retired, but he's put the fastest lap in race. DNF, Dave, does he still get the point even though he doesn't finish the race now?
If I'm truly honest, I'm not sure about that one. I would have thought with it being 80% of the race complete, I would have thought it would still stand. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the rules and regs.
No worries, mate. I'll let you come back to us on that one. Maybe next week.
Yeah, it would definitely be next week, I would have thought.
Max Edmondson, the gap's down to 1.2 back to Jordan Brennan. So Jordan Brennan is closing that gap in, but maybe it's either Edmondson's tyres have gone or Edmondson is managing that gap and just trying to take it a little bit easier, nursing it home. We've just dropped in under 1 minute to go, plus one lap to complete this race. So Edmondson now is in sight of the checkered flag almost. He's got Brennan closing in on him, albeit not too quickly. It was only a 10th faster lap on the last lap. So maybe Jordan Brennan's tyres have seen better days as well. Jordan Brennan he's a knowledgeable, he's an intelligent driver. Maybe he'll play the championship game, won't he? He'll be very, very happy with the second place in this race. As Oliver is in third place, we've got McIntyre fourth, Johnson fifth, Stapleford into sixth place with Isaac Smith seventh, Andy Dorman eighth, Rob Butler ninth, and Andy Carroll rounding out the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually just looking at the standings here, and I believe if it finishes like this, Jordan will score 17 points for finishing second, whereas Jack McIntyre will score 13. Now them are separated by 4 points in the championship, so they will leave here as it stands on neck and neck points.
Keeping it tight, keeping it close as ever, as they did in the Porsche Cup Championship. So Robbie Stapleford just gains another position there. He's up to fifth place. I think it was Isaac Smith that ran a little bit wide and opened the door for Stapleford. And in fact, Isaac Smith is now battling with Andy Dorman.
Yeah, if I'm honest, this is a bit of a nightmare round for Isaac. He came into this with third place in the championship, and he's really struggling here. You see Andy Dorman there just give a little punt there on Isaac, but I think Andy Dorman got back off the brakes there, got out the throttle to try and give Isaac the place back.
Yeah, definitely looked like that, didn't it? And indeed, Isaac Smith is there, just trying to hold his own, and what is becoming a very frantic closing section to this race now. I think they're just about on to the final lap, so it's all getting a little bit close further down the field. But Edmondson, that gap has come down a little bit more. Edmondson and Brennan split by around about a second, so I don't think Jordan Brennan's going to be able to close that second up. But
yeah, it's only a 10th in lap time, isn't it? I think Jordan, he'd be thinking he's happy with second here. He's not going to put too much pressure on Max. Max just drove a great race. You know, he was brave in the early stages with Robbie. He went for moves that he thought he had to, and you know, it's paid off. You know, he's winning the race with Jordan 8/10 behind him. Up as we see Rob Butler there getting a huge slide in probably one of the fastest corners on the track.
Yeah, absolutely broke away there, and he was just unlucky. Got some contact with the barrier, so he picked up some damage. But obviously, we're close enough to the end of the race now. He's just going to bring that one home, pretty much where he is, and looking like Edmondson is on the last lap. With the gap is down to 7/10 and closing. So Brennan is pushing hard. He's pushing very hard in these latter stages. He was sort of still only a 1/10 and a half, but it seems like Brennan's just lost a little bit of pace towards the end. But can he just hang on for that win? That is the question.
Yeah, I think if I was Max, you know, I wouldn't be worrying too much that Jordan's within half a second. You know, there's not really any more slipstream opportunities coming up in this race. He just needs to look after them tyres and make sure he crosses the line.
Yeah, to be fair, he's coming around the final corner now, and he is going to take the checkered flag in race 2, as indeed he does cross the line now, and he takes the win for race 2. Jordan Brennan, fantastic drives tonight, comes home in second place with Oliver. Again, a good evening's results for Oliver in third. Jack McIntyre, ever solid, fourth place. Stapleford, he'll be kicking himself a bit tonight, I think. Dave in fifth place with Isaac Smith in sixth. Andy Dorman is going to bring it home. I'm not going to call these out because they're all very close yet. Andy Dorman does bring it home in seventh place. Carroll in eighth. Rob Butler ninth, and Johnson will be 10th. The rest of the field, unfortunately, DNFs. That was quite a high attrition tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of expecting that, if I'm honest, with this track. You know, it lends itself to slipstream, opens opportunities, and the closing speeds are a lot faster when you get the speed overlap difference. Great race for Max. You know, that was, you know, he showed he kept it on the road, looked after his tyres, brought it home. Lap times were great. I mean, look at that. Last lap, he did his best lap on. No, he didn't. Sorry, that was a second off. I was thinking that was impressive. 32.8, so you can see lap time wise, you know, Jordan 33.0. He's really just, you know, he's walked away with that race a bit, and then he's just backed off towards the end of the race after them tyres.
Yeah, and indeed, and just when you were talking about Mike Epps as well, obviously looking down at his best lap was a 1:32.5, so that was a good lap for race pace for him. So, but I think we've got some chaps who again would like some more of your probing questions, Dave, and see what information we can extract out of these guys.
Yeah, we're going to have to be a bit careful with that in the future. I think that them expressions here are wandering a bit. Right, I'll go down and have a quick chat with them.
Okay.
Right then, we'll go to third place, and yet again, Charlie Oliver on the podium. Good solid night for you, isn't it?
Yeah, not bad. Trying to mix it with the guys ahead. Not quite there, but yeah, overall solid. Have to look at the points now.
Yeah, well, I can tell you now that after race 1, you were up into 5th place. So, you know, you starting to crawl it back, especially closing the points on the guys in front of you. But yeah, we were just talking in the commentary there about the closing speeds, with it being you know, a lot longer straights at this track. Do you find it harder to judge your braking points and sort of the overrun you can get on drivers? Does it make them look like the sort of moves there that might not necessarily be on?
Yeah, you have to be really careful, because any kind of misjudgment and you bang wheels and then bits of carbon fiber go flying. It's not like a GT car where you can just touch doors and it's fine. And I think we had 9 finishes out of 17. So that says it all, really. But you tend to get into rhythm, so you feel comfortable. You're not even thinking about braking points, gear shifts, lap after lap. It's just getting into there, really.
Yeah, I mean, were you looking after after race 1? Obviously, you knew what sort of to expect with the tyres, really. Was your strategy any different for race 2 regarding looking after them?
I tend to approach race 2 as more stay out of trouble because of the reverse grid. So
yeah.
If you've made it through lap 1 or 2, no damage, then you can get on with it after the safety car. So it's just about being a bit more careful for me.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually see on stream what exactly happened from the line. You know, we saw, I think it was Mick Sutton on pole got a particularly slow start, and then he got sort of surrounded by the rest of them. But what sort of happened in turn 1? Because we didn't really get to see that.
Well, my initial launch was good, and then someone sort of coming to that first kink of the circuit, someone bounced across the track into the gravel, so a little lift for that, and then I think there was another bit of contact at the first proper braking zone, and then possibly some more behind later on, so the safety car was called.
It just sounds like it was a bit of carnage, to be fair.
Yeah, you could call it that.
But to be fair, we sort of expected that. Super quick start, super long straights. Slipstream starts to play into part before the first braking area. It's a bit like a Monza, just not quite as tight. So you did very well to sort of get through the part there, Charlie, and good solid finish and a good point haul for the
Yeah, still in one piece. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no bother, Charlie. We'll move on to second place finisher. So Jordan Brennan, sorry. Yeah, good solid point haul as well.
Yeah, it was all right.
You seemed to drive your own race there, and you were sort of left to do your own thing, really.
Same as race 1, I just stayed out of trouble. Yeah, it went pretty well. I closed up to Max at the end. Win could have been better, but I'm happy with second.
Yeah, I mean, looking after what happened in the first part, it was such a high-speed sort of collision. There was cars sort of darting left, right, and centre. So to get through that pack and come out somewhat cleanly, I think it's a fair achievement to take.
It was. I had no damage from that whatsoever. I had more in race 1, and I think I had just one touch in race 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good solid effort. The points haul from tonight's really going to help you in the championship points. And if I worked it out right, I think you're coming away here tie on points with Jack McIntyre. So, I mean, going into round 3, it's going to be all to play for.
Yeah, that's all right. That just means I carry more weight, though. So, not looking forward to that.
Well, I was actually going to quickly ask about that regarding ballast. Did you notice any difference in the car from round 1? Regarding weight, or is the car taking the weight quite well? It's just representing the times maybe a little bit slower than what you could do without the weight.
The car feels all right on weight, but you do notice in lap time. Like Isaac's been doing, what was he doing? Like 31.6s with no weight all week, and he's jumped the car today, and he's gone like 8 tenths slower.
Yeah,
that's 11 kilos. So there's quite a big difference in weight, but it handles it pretty well.
Yeah, well, we're going to see how you handle it with 12 kilograms on board. So, good luck with that going into round 3. Yeah, good luck for that, and we'll catch up with you next race.
Cheers, thank you.
And on to our race winner, Max Edmondson, who we've seen has got multiple fans watching tonight. Yeah, good solid result, and it's good to bring home a win.
Yeah, race 1, I was obviously struggled a bit with tyre, and then I obviously been myself, but race 2 I had a quite good start and just kept it from there. But I think me and Robbie had a little battle during the middle bit, and I think I was there, and then he turned in on me. But obviously I'll have to check the replays for that.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I sort of stuck my neck on the block and called it during the race, and I thought you showed your nose enough to sort of Robbie to know that you were there, and then Robbie tried to defend the corner a little bit too late. But we'll wait and see what happens regarding that. But provisionally, you've won the race, and did you feel that Robbie had the pace on you there, which is why you were so aggressive in, trying to get back? And, I'm not going to say you were lunging up the inside, but you were definitely making sure, he couldn't just sort of pull away.
Obviously, I was struggling with pace across this week. So obviously, if I let him get a gap, he would have just gone. Because I knew Robbie's always fast. He's fast in these cars, so that's why I kept on overtaking him and defending and stuff, just to slow him getting the gap, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably needed to be done. I was watching the lap times. I think he probably had a few tenths on you per lap. But, that sort of driving there where you sort of just keep showing your nose in every slow corner, you can't do anything but defend the line. So you did very well, brought the fight home, and a good win all in all.
Yeah, but obviously thanks to Heat and Shop and Riggs for helping me throughout the championship.
Nice to get your sponsors in there. Going forward into the mini esports, I believe. Yeah, good solid result, and we'll hope to see you at the front again going into round 3.
Cheers.
No bother. Well,
So
there we go, mate.
that's the interviews over for the podium, and some good results, some solid finishes tonight for some of the sort of top runners. Definitely some valuable points scored here in what was some interesting racing. I mean, the first race was was good. The second race was hard. I mean, there was quite a few non-finishers in that one, but some of the overtakes from Stapleford and Edmondson towards sort of the final third of that race, as we just seen on screen there now, it was overtaking throughout the field. It was fantastic racing. These cars really are good to watch, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's what race 2 brings, isn't it? The reverse grid really jumbles it up, and it shows how the faster drivers can try and get back through the grid of people who haven't been quite as quick as them in the first race. But carnage happens. Certain things are unfortunate, and all it takes with these is the slightest wheel touch. I mean, that must have been about 6 cars going down towards turn 2, all in slipstream, all trying to fight for the win.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, it's good racing, and it's good to see the guys are all getting to grips with the cars very, very quickly. As we said, this is only the second round with these cars, and indeed, we will be back on air next week, same time on Tuesday evening, but we will be at the Red Bull Ring, Dave. Any final thoughts on this evening's race before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, we're just seeing Robbie Stapleford there on stream. I think he'll be probably disappointed with the pace that he's shown. He's coming away from this round with probably not the points haul that he thought he could come away with. But he's probably just building up now driver knowledge. That's half of what it's about. You enter these championships and you'll learn the sort of traits and characteristics of drivers on the grid. So he'll be probably putting a mark next to Max Edmondson's name going, if you pass him, he's going to come back at you. So, it's all about learning it. It's what makes part of a racing driver.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Well, I think all that's left to do is to say to everybody, hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas from all at VRRC, from myself and Dave. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for your comments on the stream. Don't forget to visit the website www.virtualrealityracingclub.com. You can find multiple sign-ups for multiple championships that are actually open at the moment. Lots of new championships in the new year, including the one that's on your screen now, the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Touring Car E-Series, where you will get to race against some top-line drivers as ever at VRRC. But more importantly than that, I think there's some top-line prizes there as well. Some high-value prizes.
I'll quickly run through that, Steve, while we've got time here. So as you say, we've got the Touring Car League, which is starting up on the 30th of January. Huge prize and huge grid of the likes of GT and British touring car drivers on there. You're not going to race next to them sort of drivers on any other sim. So feel free to contact VRRC and get involved in that. But there's also the Mini Esports series, which is the second season. That's a huge prize as well. You've got a round win in a Mini test days, rigs on offer for real drivers, a huge prize funds, and fantastic racing, some fantastic cars. So I think there was only 2 spaces left in that. So if you're interested in sign-ups, make sure you contact VRRC or Rich Hayden and getting involved.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first. There's literally just a couple of spaces left, so if you want to get involved and be in with a chance of racing against some top-name drivers, but also for some fantastic prizes, you need to get signed up as soon as possible. So just visit www.virtualrealityracingclub.com and join the community, sign yourselves up, and who knows, we could see you on track in the new year. But as I said earlier, from myself and Dave and all at the VRRC community, hope you have a very Merry Christmas. But we will be back next week. Don't forget, same time, same place, Tuesday evening for the round 3 of the Fabarth at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Thank you very much.
Good night.
The inside of coats.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.